Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Hey, Wes, you got a second?
Well, sure, Craig. What's up?
Did you speak to Mr. Jones about that cash liquidation? I thought that was all lined up, but he's coming from Mutual of Nairobi to Tony Walker Financial, and it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I did. We should be good to go. I discussed all the particulars with him, and then I think we're just moving forward with Tony's recommendations.
I thought everything was in good order on that one until Mr. Jones and I got on the phone with that rep from Mutual of Nairobi. I was so confused by the end, I don't think either of us knew what we were supposed to do.
Well, in those situations, I just do what Tony's always told me to do.
Well, what's that?
Just keep it simple.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we get into today's show, let me introduce to you two lads in the studios here who are keeping things simple, Mr. Aaron Orander and Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, we got something to talk about today, and you may have noticed from the introduction about keeping things simple, and this involves a concept I have never heard of called Occam's razor. And to help us understand this concept, Mr. Trey Juergens, fellow fiduciary, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. And we were outlining the show. We always like to talk about keeping things simple. Where in the world did you hear about this?
This was actually in church. The pastor came up. He was talking about keeping things simple, not overcomplicating things. Keeping things simple, Occam's razor does just that.
And there was different dates of birth on this fella. He was back in the 1200s or 1300s, but it sounds like I love the premise, and basically he was saying if you had two choices, one simple, one complicated, you should probably just err on the side of simple. Is that really what he's saying there?
Exactly. So in philosophy, a razor is just that. It's a concept that can shave off other possibilities. So with Occam's razor, it's a concept that just says if a simpler solution can be had, that's probably the right solution.
Oh, I think this guy would have enjoyed hanging out.
I think so.
He might have been a fiduciary here at Tony Walker Financial if he lived long enough. So I think what we decided to do, especially in our practice, we work with savers, folks, and savers love simplicity. And I've often said, I think the financial world sometimes makes this intentionally complicated. Would you kind of agree with that, and how frustrated many savers come to us and say, I don't understand what they're doing?
No, absolutely. I think when the financial world speaks over the head and confuses people, gets it to a point where it's overly complex, they feel like they rely on the financial world. So if the saver can't simplify it, they have to trust somebody.
Yeah, they're kind of almost bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. They don't have any options. So, and really retirement planning, folks, it's just that, options. We try to boil down to a few simple options, put the saver in control so then they can choose what they think is in their best interest.
Exactly right.
So we got a little bit of time here, Trey. I kind of want to go through the paperwork here. You did a great job on outlining this. We're going to go through, looks like 3, 4, about 6, we could have probably listed 10, but 6 things that we can do to follow Occam's razor, assuming Occam was helping us with retirement planning and to keep things simple. Boy, this is becoming more and more prevalent. And I think people, when we bring this up, think we're being greedy, get everything under one roof, consolidate your assets, but speak to why this is so important in retirement versus having everything scattered all over God's creation.
Yeah. Well, as Mr. Moore used to often say, a soggy mess. We've had a few cases, and it's great that we can help them, but when they bring in stacks of statements and contracts, things that they've had accumulated over 25 years, they don't even know what they have or where it is. And much less if someone were to pass away and leave that to the kids, if they haven't helped consolidate accounts and have kind of a clear idea of what they have, where it is, and communicate that to their beneficiaries, they really are in a mess.
Yeah, we met with some clients the other day, new prospective clients. They're not our clients, and they wanted us to handle everything. The father of these children and his wife is still alive, passed away unexpectedly. And yeah, they said, we don't know where anything is. And it's taken us several weeks. We're still not there. We're getting there. But, I mean, it has really been difficult. All right, number 2, I like this one. This is in our bailiwick. We call it mailbox money.
Mailbox money!
But building a foundation around guaranteed income, I know we've done shows on this. I mean, the financial world's finally realizing you've got to have guaranteed income. Annuities are the only thing that can do that. But speak to that in terms of our game plan and how confident our clients are knowing that they're not going to run out of money.
Well, when someone comes to us and they're looking for a lifetime of income, and we can guarantee that with an annuity product, but also provide them flexibility on the front end with Charles Schwab, it's really kind of the sweet spot. So they really enjoy that guaranteed income. We had a recent article that said savers sometimes spend up to 2 times as much when they know they have guaranteed income. So basically, having guaranteed income is really a must for savers.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Here's the next one, limiting exposure to market risk. As we record this show in August of 2024, the stock market's going great guns. But folks, you got to remember retirement's a whole different ball of wax, unless you want to plan on going back to work or we have another crash. So speak to how we try to temper back that risk when people are actually in retirement.
Yeah, we had a new client come on. Her 401k had done 25% here the last 12 months, which is great. However, having that much equity exposure heading into retirement is pretty scary.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Here's a good one. Choosing low-cost investment options. Basically, our Charles Schwab platform, but also, and I might do a whiteboard on this at some point in the near future, also when you couple the annuities, many of our annuities do not charge fees. So speak to that, Trey. The typical person that might come in with a managed account from a broker, maybe they're charging 1.2, 1.5, $500,000, but what we can do to the fees to lower those and put more money back in their pockets.
Sure, with 0.8% annualized fee in Schwab, that's already pretty low, but we do carve out some assets to go into annuities without fees. So overall, you could be more like 0.5% on the whole thing versus charging 1.5% with a money manager.
In fact, we did this, put this up full screen here, and you can see where, in this example, our overall fees for this client, they vary, but for this client was 0.5% versus their current advisor was charging 1.5%. Now, again, in this example, we're just showing the effects of fees. Over 20 years, they'd have about $200,000 more in their account by just simply lowering their fees.
Oh, it's powerful.
Let's keep moving here. Oh, I like this. Simplifying estate planning. First of all, folks, we're not attorneys. We don't pretend to be, but I've been doing this a long time. All I can say is this. I mean, there's a lot of people out there peddling trust, pushing trusts. I think in some cases they have merits, but all I can say is a trust doesn't mean you're necessarily going to simplify your estate.
Yeah, we always update beneficiaries, and we're pretty proactive about getting power of attorney on file and just keeping those beneficiaries updated, because anything that you have with named beneficiaries with us avoids probate already.
And also, too, I would say if you're going to get a trust, that's fine, but make sure you've really thought through why are you getting the trust. A lot of people say, should I have a trust? And I'll say, well, why are you getting it? Some people might say, well, I want to save on taxes. Well, in some cases, the trust they're looking at won't save on taxes. Or I want to have privacy in my estate. I don't want to go through probate. Well, other than a house, maybe they're not even going to go through probate. So again, folks, we're not attorneys, but we can really help you think through first before you go to the attorney, what is it you're trying to accomplish? I think we got time for one more here, Trey. I like this one. Focusing on core values and goals. How much would you say, how important is it for a saver to trust the person they're working with? And what do clients sometimes share with us the reason they go with us in the first place?
Well, you listen. I think that's number one. When I first started and watching you in those first appointments, the little check boxes, the notes that you take, and then you present the findings of that second appointment, people light up because they see, oh, he was actually listening. And it's refreshing for savers, but it's also how we can do what we do. We can lay a plan out that actually achieves those goals and those values that they share with us in that first appointment.
And I like how you said it on a show a couple of weeks ago. Really listening, taking care of the client, doing what they ask you to do is the ultimate sign of respect for that client.
It is.
Well, good stuff, Trey. I tell you what, let's come back. I've got to cover a few things. Got to cover the monitor, whiteboard, lots of stuff there. But I want to come back and get into a little deeper dive on some articles we've got that confirm this Occam's razor is a no-brainer for savers.
Yeah.
Can you stick around?
I'll be here.
All right, good deal. We'll be right back, folks. Having worked in the retirement planning field for 40 years, I know it's not just about how much money you've saved for retirement, but making sure you one day don't run out of money. That's where mailbox money comes in.
Mailbox money.
A reliable, lifelong income, much like the pension plans from the past. If you're interested in turning your 401k into mailbox money, let's talk. Just set up your free 10-minute phone call with myself at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
One of the big things that Tony likes to pride himself on is service and follow-up for our clients, and that is income plan audits. It's a new process that we have put in place. So the income plan software that is exclusive to Tony Walker Financial, we follow that. We make sure our clients stay on plan. We follow up with when they're supposed to start income. If they get off track, then we contact them to see what we can do to resolve any issues they may have. And we've got 2 staff actually that are almost fully dedicated to doing that for us, and it's really going well, and that's how we can stay on top of our over 3,000 clients' plans at this point.
The individuals in this interview are uncompensated clients at the time of filming. Their opinions expressed were provided to Worry Free Productions for use as an advertisement by Tony Walker Financial. Please refer to Form CRS and Form ADV Part 2A Disclosure Brochure for information regarding the advisory services offered by Tony Walker Financial.
Our client spotlight today shines brightly on Miss Kim DeFazio. And Miss DeFazio, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. And I'd like to, first of all, just tell the audience briefly, what did you do for a living prior to your retirement?
Prior to my retirement, I worked for the Federal Railroad Administration. I was a rail integrity specialist, and then I retired at the end of January 2023.
That's awesome. Remind me, how did you find out about Tony Walker Financial? Do you remember?
Well, I had a financial advisor prior to your team, and I wasn't happy with some of the fees that they were charging me. And I was talking to my family member, and we just happened to talk, and he said, "Have you ever heard of Tony Walker Financial?" And I said, "Yes, I have." And he said, "Well, you know, I'm one of his clients." So he said, "I would encourage you to call Tony and talk with him." And that's what I did.
Oh, thank you very much. So your experience thus far, you've been with us a couple of years, but now that you're retired, tell us about the audience, about the experience you've had with the staff and our ability to respond to your needs.
Tony, I mean, it's hands down. If I have a question or I have a concern, all I need to do is call that phone number. Everyone is ready to help out with whatever. And it's prompt. I mean, it's prompt service. It's not like I wait 2 weeks or a week and then somebody gets back with me. So I like that customer service feel.
Well, Mr. Fazio, we appreciate your business so much and look forward to many years to come. So thank you.
You're welcome, Tony. Thank you.
And you're welcome as well.
Looking for an advisor you can trust? Schedule your free phone call with Tony at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 1-877-499-9255.
One of the problems for savers in planning for retirement is this notion of how much money will I really need in retirement to be worry-free. And first of all, let me say this is different for different people. I've been doing this now over 40 years. I've met with over 20,000 savers. I meet with 20 to 30 savers a week. It's all different for different people. There really is no one-size-fits-all, but there are several things that I'd like to have people consider when they're thinking about the future, because let's face it, you've never been into retirement. I get to bring my experience to bear in working with thousands of people and watching their retirement play out. And here's a couple of problems that people have in thinking through this. First of all, they've been led to believe that as they get older due to inflation, they're going to need more and more money. And that usually is not the case. In fact, although inflation is real, we'll see this in a minute, most people spend less and less. The second thing I've seen that's a real problem is at some point, too much money, listen carefully, too much money will create too much worry, and that is totally unnecessary. Think about it. I mean, how much money is really enough to live on? So let's kind of take a look at the 3 halves of life. This is really important to consider, and if you're meeting with somebody like me that's a retirement planning specialist, this experience I'm bringing to bear is not just looking at today and calculating all these numbers with these retirement calculators. Folks, you can't do that. Those are not realistic. You have to have a game plan first, work with an experienced retirement planning specialist and a firm that understands what I'm about to show you, called the 3 halves of life, okay? So in this first half, again, we generally don't work with people here in the first half of life. That would be people generally younger than age 50 in most cases. Those are people that are still trying to accumulate wealth, they're trying to pay off some debt, send their kids to school. They're doing retirement planning, but they're not really ready for our expertise and services. Again, where we come to the fray is when we're helping people transition from work to retirement, or if they're very close to making that transition. That transition is what we call halftime. Now, this is the period of time where actually most people neglect to spend and enjoy some of their money. This is where a lot of the fear comes in from the financial world. This is generally, not always, but this is generally between about 58 and 70 years of age, okay? 58 to 70 roughly. It's different for different people. But this is the period of time that people start slowing down. They realize work is getting tough. Maybe they've had some illnesses. They've had some friends pass away. They're going to more funerals than there are weddings. They're like, wait a minute, I need to start enjoying this money. But they're afraid to spend it because the financial world does not want you taking this away from them. That's how they make money on your money, folks. They don't want you to spend this money. So a lot of people don't spend it, and then the assets just keep growing. Well, what we're encouraging our clients to consider is once you pass this threshold, whether it's late 60s, early 70s, but basically you'll know when you hit it. I call it the second half of life. This is that period of time where you really do start slowing down. You're traveling less, maybe an illness or an injury or a loss of a spouse has kind of kept you from spending and enjoying money. You don't feel like spending a lot of money. You don't need to spend a lot of money. And you realize you're thinking, man, I spent all my life saving all this money. Now what? I got all this money. So this is the period of time when I think you should just relax. And yes, the idea is, this is what is counterintuitive for most people in the financial world. They don't understand. We actually want the asset base to gradually go down, not go up. If it keeps going up, all that means is when you die, you're going to have taxes probably passed on to your kids. Nursing homes are going to be after it. It makes no sense to keep stockpiling this money. So if you'd like to go through an analysis of your situation and incorporate the 3 halves of life, this proprietary take on money that I created years ago, and see how we at Tony Walker are so different from the rest of the financial world in wanting you to enjoy this money before it's too late, do this right now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button. We can set up something called the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. Absolutely free, no obligation. You and I will be talking by phone, and if it warrants, we will meet in person to go through a free analysis of your situation. Again, it's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call anytime at 877-499-9255. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
In the office today with me is Beth Wisman, our onboarding specialist. Beth, you and I kind of tag team, really. I typically will follow up with clients to see if they're ready to move forward with the plan we've presented, or potential clients. And I tell them that Beth will be in touch with them to complete the onboarding process. Why don't you describe exactly what you do and what type of information you do need from the clients at that point?
So at that point, I will give the clients a phone call, reach out to them, get all their personal information, their date of birth, social, any beneficiary information, gather statements that we might need, voided checks, power of attorney, any additional documentation that we might need to be able to open the account and facilitate the onboarding process.
Okay, so really you're gathering the information that's needed for applications, any kind of rollovers or transfers that we need,
Correct.
Things of that nature. Okay. Is there anything that clients have, that they typically need to prepare for prior to their call with you? What specific beneficiary information and
Probably
things like
beneficiary information, date of birth, phone numbers, full name, middle initial. Sometimes clients are lacking those details and need to follow up later with that.
Okay, great. And often I know that I've seen emails from you that you do send them a safe and secure way to upload documents to us. Kind of describe that process. How does that work?
Correct. So usually after the phone call, I'll let them know that I'm going to follow up with an email to list the documentation that we do need, and then provide them that secure link to send it back.
Okay. So they just open the link, upload the documents, and
Correct.
send it back, and it's all encrypted and safe?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Beth, for being in today. Appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking for an advisor you can trust? Schedule your free phone call with Tony at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 1-877-499-9255.
Did you realize that if you have more than $250,000 in retirement assets, the government could tax as much as 40% of it when you go to take it out? And with current tax rates set to expire in 2025, the taxes you will owe on your 401k could climb even higher. Don't wait until 2025 to see how much Uncle Sam will take of your money. Get a game plan by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker here along with fellow fiduciary and favorite son-in-law Trey Juergens. And this has been kind of fun. And again, if you're just now joining us, we're talking about Occam's razor. This fella, Derek, originally had looked up and said he was born in 1235 and died in 1349. That would make him like 114. Did people live that long back then? I don't think that's correct. We've got to do a fact check on Derek on that. But for those who are just joining us, just let's define again what Occam's razor is. This was kind of your idea. I know you heard it in church, but what did boil it down for us?
Yeah, so ultimately, when faced with competing hypotheses or solutions, the simplest one is usually the best. It really boils down to keep it simple.
Yeah, and we covered some earlier in the show. We covered some of the things that we recommend, but let's kind of get into some industry things that are going on, articles out there, and why this idea of keeping things simple is so important for a worry-free retirement. Let's start with this first article. We're going to shuffle some pages around here. Trey's done a great job of kind of finding some articles. I guess I like this one because the reason I like this one is this is something I've been saying for years. And folks, by the way, if you haven't picked up a copy of Live Well, Die Broke, this covers what we're getting ready to talk about and that the industry is now realizing. Also, too, Derek and Aaron, they've done a great job. Simeon, our buddy who recorded the narration on this, we now have the Live Well, Die Broke book in audio form, and it's absolutely free. So, folks, if you want to listen to the audio version of Live Well, Die Broke, just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You'll see it right there. Just click on it. I think you're going to really enjoy it. But here's the article, and I love this. This came out of Investment News, July of 2024. Here's the headline, Trey. Retirees spend twice as much when they have guaranteed income. Well, that's what we call mailbox money. Research finds.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So here's the three sources of guaranteed income, folks: Social Security, pension, and annuities. Those are the only three forms of mailbox money. So in your experience in working with all these people that are coming to us and they get into what I call the second half of life, and we keep talking about you've got mailbox money on the back end and you need to enjoy your money, what happens in that halftime area? Do our clients seem to be more free to spend money, or do they tend to tighten their wallet?
Well, I mean, with a plan, they have a way of actually enjoying and spending some money. But when they come to us, they're at that nervous point where they're not quite sure if that money's going to last, and they come to us. But if you can lay out a plan with that guaranteed income on the back end, there's a kind of a weight lifted.
I had a gentleman call in the other day. I think we're going to work with him. He wanted me to put an assessment. He's listened to the radio show, and it was so interesting. He said he got laid off, been with the company about 40 years. He's been happy with his 401k. This was what was interesting. That's a big box 401k, huge organization. So he calls the 1-800 number, talks to a nice representative there, asks us if he could change investments since he's now going to be retired. He's like 62, I think he was, but he said, I'm not going back to work. I was laid off. I'm done. And he kind of implied to the representative at the big box store 401k, do you think I ought to temper this back a little bit? I mean, I think he'd been quite a bit in risk. And the guy goes, no, you're fine. And he said, that didn't set well with me. It was almost like he wasn't listening. I mean, this guy's 62, doesn't want to go back to work, concerned of retirement, losing money. And that's when I mentioned to him, I said, well, what prompted you to call us? And he said, well, you keep bringing up this idea to enjoy your money without the fear of one day running out. I want to see how that works. So what told me, Trey, was the representative either didn't understand how that worked or wasn't going to broach the subject.
Yeah, I think they probably were told, well, they're in a target date fund or a mix that is appropriate as Wall Street might consider for a saver, but probably not for a saver.
Let's keep going with articles here on keeping things simple. Again, if you're just now joining us, folks, we really believe in this Occam's razor. I guess I've been living the principle out for years. I didn't know anything about it. apparently me and Derek are the only ones in the office that never heard of this concept. I'm all excited talking to people. Everybody's looking at me go, oh, yeah, I've heard of Occam's razor. But again, Occam's razor, boiling it down, if you had two choices, competing choices, one's very complicated, one's very simple. In most cases, his theory was it's better just to go with the simple.
Yeah, so a quick example, I think I'll get an amen from you on this one. Football's about to kick off, and the example I saw is you're on the 1 yard line. Your running back's been averaging 5 yards a carry. Why don't we pass the ball?
Yeah, what game was that? Was that the Seahawks?
Seahawks, yeah.
Go over that real quick because that is hilarious.
Well, they've been marching all over the field. I think Marshawn Lynch was the running back.
Yeah.
Could run over anybody, and then they decide to throw a pass on the 1 yard line, intercepted, game over. But no, I think that's as a football guy, that's a Occam's razor example that most people could understand. You're 1 yard line, you got to get from here to there.
And you got a guy that's been running over people.
Yeah.
And you don't give him the ball.
Lombardi said that what could happen, there's a couple things that can happen when you pass, and most of them are bad. So why not just run the ball?
Yeah, that's a really good example. But this was an interesting article in Kiplinger. Then this was back in 2020, but retirees with a guaranteed income are happier and live longer. Now, I don't know if I could verify that. I guess we could go into all of our clients. We've got over 3,000 clients, and a lot of them are retired, but I guess this could make some sense, because if you think about a worry-free retirement, and if a saver's worried about running out of money and they know they have guaranteed income, I guess that could produce more happiness, and I guess if you're happier, you can live longer. I haven't checked the stats on this, but what are your thoughts on that article?
It sounds like the worry-free retirement. I mean, if you know you've got those mailbox money checks coming in, you don't have a whole lot of worry in terms of what the stock market's doing.
And speaking of the stock market, and I think you and Wes are probably going to do a deeper dive on this. I don't want to steal your thunder down the road, but we have talked about target date funds. And folks, again, we're not getting on target date funds. What we're arriving at is the conclusion is the Wall Street, and in order to try to simplify things, has created these target date funds. But I think what I worry about is the poor old saver is choosing these funds assuming there's never any risk, especially if you choose like a 2020 or something like that, because it's trying to match up to when you retire. So speak to, just as a quick overview, speak to what some of these target dates funds did in 2022 that were supposedly targeted towards a particular date to keep money safe.
Yeah, so these funds were actually target dates aimed at a retirement date being 2025.
Okay.
It is effectively the easy button, Wall Street calls it, within a 401k to choose the right equity mix heading into retirement.
Supposedly, right.
Supposedly. Yeah. However, what we've seen is the maximum drawdown. This was from January 22 to September 2022. And each of these target dates varied from 40% equity exposure up to 57% equity exposure. We see losses as high as 20% in that 2022 time span.
Gosh, so if you were in 2022, that means theoretically, if you're retiring in 2025, you're only 3 years away.
You got it.
So if you went down 20%, I mean, that's scary stuff.
Yeah, that's hardly the easy button.
Yeah. And I guess in conclusion, Trey, and I'll give a little pitch here, a shout out on how they can contact us. Talk about how simplified we've made planning with our proprietary software.
Well, the software is so easy to understand, and it's not speaking over your head. It's meant to educate you and let you know what you've got and how you're going to use and enjoy it over the rest of your life.
And I would say this, folks, if you are retired or retiring soon, if you're sitting there and you really are looking and thinking about how can I simplify this stuff, you're scared to death of what's going to happen in the future, you feel like people are talking over your head, making it too complicated, we've made this really easy for you. And talking about simple and free, we call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. And the purpose of this is so that you and I can talk in person over the phone for just a few minutes to see what's going on in your life and to see if we can be of help. So to take advantage of this free phone call with myself, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to click on that little Let's Get Started button and we'll arrange that call. Or if the internet's not your thing, call us anytime at 877-499-9255. Well, Trey, that's all the time we've got today. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
And folks, you've been listening to the Worry-Free Retirement, but between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.